This soldier's dark secret, bringing war home to New Jersey, shocking truth revealed. The sleepy streets of Davisville, New Jersey, took a dark turn the day Sergeant Alex Carter returned from overseas. Shadows loomed in the corners of his once bright-eyed smile, hinting at a weight he couldn't shake off. Whispers began to echo, dripped in dark intrigue. Friends who once greeted him with hugs now leaned in with worried frowns, eyes darting like timid rabbits caught in headlights. What had changed? After all, hadn't he gone to fight for them? But the first strange thing started the night he walked through his front door. A flickering light in the basement felt like a specter taunting him. He tiptoed down the steps, each creak beneath his feet screaming warnings. "Step back," urged a voice in his head, but curiosity gnawed at his insides. The light glowed brighter, pulsating as if alive, capturing his heartbeat. Then came the whispers. At first, he dismissed them as his imagination running wild on the return adrenaline. But the next night, he woke to soft murmurs that rustled through the dark like cold fingers trailing along his spine. "Alex, bring it back," they beckoned, drawing him back to the basement, and still, the tension built. Neighbors began to talk. "What is he hiding?" a woman muttered during a PTA meeting, her voice low and full of dread. "Did you see the way he looks at the ground? Like he's afraid of what he'll find." And indeed, Alex had developed a tightness in his chest, his hands trembled like dry leaves in a storm, haunted by unseen faces, too heavy with the memories of a past he longed to forget. Just as the murmurs reached a fever pitch of gripping curiosity, Alex stood frozen outside the basement door one fateful evening. What lay beyond was a secret buried beneath layers of holiday decorations and dusty memories, a secret that had become him. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from behind the door, splintering the quiet. The darkness crept closer, wrapping around him like a shroud. Was it a memory trying to claw its way back, or something far worse lurking in the shadows? In that moment, Alex's heart raced. What could possibly await him down there? The air felt thick as a storm brewed in the distance, inviting him to uncover the truth, daring him to step beyond the threshold. Who, or what, was really waiting for him in the dim flicker of that basement light? Alex's hand trembled as he reached for the doorknob. Time felt suspended, each second stretching taut like a bowstring ready to snap. The darkness beyond the door felt alive, wrapping around him, trying to squeeze the courage from his bones. The crash resounded in his ears again, louder this time, and he could almost hear the whispers rising in concert with it. "Bring it back," the words echoed in his mind, a twisted chant that pulled at the edges of his sanity. With a sharp intake of breath, he turned the knob and pushed the door open. The basement light flickered erratically above him, chipping away at the darkness like a beating heart. He stepped inside, the musty smell of forgotten memories washing over him. Shadows danced along the walls, elongating and collapsing as he moved, and he hesitated, caught in indecision. Alex's voice, deep and raspy, seemed to claw at the walls, pulling him in. He felt as if he were being sucked into a whirlpool of confusion and fear. The brass lamp on the corner table flickered, illuminating a familiar sight, a dusty army duffel bag lying partially unzipped near the far wall. His heart clenched. This had been his bag from deployment, crammed with souvenirs and remnants from a life that felt like a different world. He moved toward it, legs heavy like he was walking through molasses. Each step sent a jolt of anxiety coursing through him. The whispers intensified, a chorus of disembodied voices that seemed dangerously close. "Open it," they urged. He knelt beside the bag, hesitating again. The darkness lurked like a predator in the corners, as if waiting for him to make a choice. With shaking hands, he inched the zipper down. The sounds around him waned, letting the suspense build with every inch he unveiled. Inside, he found personal effects, a battered journal, dog tags, and a small, unrecognized object wrapped in a cloth. It felt out of place, foreign. As he pulled it out, a chill swept through the air. The whispers grew louder, a frantic chant now, rising to a thunderous plea. "Bring it back! Bring it back!" Revealing the wrapped object sent a new wave of nausea crashing over him. Shaking fingers undid the knots, and at last, the cloth fell away. The item gleamed dully in the dim light, a small, intricately carved statue nestled in his palm. It felt wrong. Wrong in a way he couldn't articulate, but every fiber of his being screamed that it was linked to something dark. The whispers crescendoed, now blending with the sound of his own breath, heavy with dread. "Why did you bring this back?" A voice, harsher now, echoed in his mind, sending chills racing down his spine. Suddenly, the basement dimmed even further, shadows converging, wrapping tightly around him. It was suffocating, it was all-consuming. He had no answers, only questions that roared in his head like a trapped beast. Where had this come from? And why was it calling to him so desperately? Just as dread settled into his bones, the basement door slammed shut behind him, the sound reverberating like thunder. The room turned so dark Alex could barely see his own hand in front of his face. The whispers turned into a whirlwind of voices, all screaming, converging into a singular demand. "Bring it back! Bring it back!" Alex took a trembling step back, firing adrenaline through his veins. He had to escape this madness, but could he even trust the path he'd walked so far? The air turned icy, and voices began to scream louder, drowning out his thoughts, as the walls closed in. What awaited him on the other side of the shadows? What had he unleashed by returning? Just as panic swelled, he felt an unseen force pushing against him, as if the very walls were alive, ready to claim him. With every beat of his heart, he braced himself for the chaos, knowing he had to figure out exactly what he had brought back before it took him entirely. The shadows swirled thicker around Alex, a suffocating veil that twisted time into a disorienting dance. Each whisper felt like a dagger, slicing through his resolve. Panic clawed at his throat, making it hard to breathe. He needed to move, to escape, but backward was now a chasm of darkness, and forward, well, that held its own perils. "Bring it back," the voices chanted again, a horrible melody that echoed in his skull. With gritted teeth, Alex squeezed the statue tightly, its rough edges digging into his skin as if it had its own heartbeat, a pulse that synchronized with the terror thrumming in his chest. Suddenly, the floorboards creaked beneath him, an ominous groan that threatened to swallow him whole. A fleeting thought crossed his mind: what if something, or someone, was waiting in that darkness? He had seen horrors during his time in the field, but nothing prepared him for whatever this was. The whispers morphed into laughter, mocking his fear, and with it came a gust of icy wind that swept through the basement, extinguishing the flickering light. "Fight or flight?" The voice taunted, now sounding almost playful. An urgency surged through him. The statue. A memory fizzled to life like an old film reel, his fellow soldiers, exchanging stories of artifacts unearthed in foreign lands. He remembered warnings, lore tangled in superstition. What if it was cursed? One had joked. That joke felt more sinister now. "Why did you bring this back?" The voice was insistent, malevolent. "You don't know what you've done." He scanned the space with shaky breaths, heart pounding like a war drum. He could feel the air crackle, charged with a malevolence that drummed up memories of battles fought in both distant lands and within himself. Ghosts of past decisions surged to life, echoing in the claustrophobic quarters. There was no way he could stay. Summoning courage, he took a gaunt step towards the door, his instincts screaming for safety, but something caught his attention. The surface of the statue shimmered, glowing faintly, illuminating symbols etched in a language he couldn't comprehend. The whispers grew frantic, begging for his focus. "Bring it back, to where it belongs," they demanded, voices rising and falling like waves in a storm. A shiver cascaded down his spine, urgency clawed at him once more. He had to get rid of it. But where? The thought of being consumed by the shadows made his heart race faster. He turned, desperately looking for another exit. The walls flickered momentarily, and in that small gleam, he thought he saw a shadow dart past him, moving with intent. Heart racing, he spun around only to find empty, lingering darkness. Was that a trick of the light, or a sign that something was near him, something watching from the abyss? No. I won't give in. Alex shouted, louder than he intended, frustration fading into fear. The power of defiance surged through him. He wasn't just going to sit and wait for whatever this was to take him. He had survived worse. He bolted for the basement stairs, taking them two at a time, driven by sheer adrenaline. The whispers fell silent, as if holding their breath, but dread crawled beneath his skin, whispering that whatever had been unleashed would not let him go so easily. As he slammed his shoulder against the door, he felt it jar under the pressure, but it wouldn't budge. With nothing left but will, he hit it with all he had, throwing himself against it. The door rocked violently, the shadows shrieking around him in protest. Suddenly, the door swung open. Blinding light flooded in, momentarily pushing back the darkness. Alex stumbled through, gasping for air like a drowning man surfacing from the depths of despair. Standing in the light gave him a fleeting sense of safety. But just as he took a breath of relief, he noticed a figure emerges at the edge of the threshold, a silhouette formed with a familiar shape. "Why did you come back?" It echoed, eyes glinting with malice, and there, in that moment, Alex realized that the shadows had not only followed him home, they were now a part of him. What had he brought back from the depths of his own mind, and would he be able to escape it this time? He felt the weight of the statue still clenched in his hand, and its sinister glow whispered promises he didn't want to hear. The fight wasn't over. It was only just beginning. The moment froze. Alex's heart was a wild drumbeat in his chest as he stared into the familiar yet twisted face of his brother, Luke. The last time he had seen Luke, they were at each other's throats over family issues that felt small compared to the raging storm inside Alex. Now, those old wounds ached, mixed with something darker that stirred in the pit of his stomach. "Luke." Alex's voice trembled. "Is it really you?" Luke stepped forward, but the light flickered again, casting strange shadows that distorted his features. "You weren't supposed to come back here," he whispered, a hint of sorrow mingling with accusation in his tone. As Alex took a step back, a chill gripped him. This wasn't just familial concern, something sinister hung in the air. The basement light pulsed sporadically, revealing glimpses of anguish etched onto Luke's face. An echo of the past crept into the present, pulling Alex back into memories he fought so hard to escape. "Get away from me!" Alex shouted, not knowing whether he was talking to the shadow or the brother he had once known. "Why would you bring it back?" Luke pressed, not moving any closer, but his eyes held a storm. "You don't understand the darkness that's inside that thing." The statue glowed ominously, hot against Alex's flesh. He felt a compulsion to turn it over, as if it held the answers to questions he hadn't yet voiced. Questions about guilt, about survival, about the things war did to the souls of men. "Don't you see?" Luke continued, his voice rising and trembling, desperation clawing at the edges. "It needs to be returned. The cycle can't continue. If you keep it, it will take everything, and everyone you love." Fear nodded in Alex's gut. The shadows shifted again, whispering messages of chaos and revenge. "You're dead. You don't get to tell me what to do." Alex barked, anger bubbling over as he fought against the rising tide of grief. "Am I?" Luke echoed, tilting his head unnaturally, shadows playing tricks on Alex's sight. "Look around. Who's really alive here? The soldier who survived, or the man who brought death home?" Alex's knees buckled slightly as doubt seeped into his thoughts like poison. The whispers grew louder, clawing at his sanity. Had he truly brought something back from the battlefield? Was this darkness invisible, or was it lurking in plain sight all along, feeding off his shame, his fears. The basement walls closed in, and with each breath, the air thickened. His brother's piercing gaze drew him deeper into a spiral of dread. "You can't outrun your past, Alex," Luke said, his voice softer now, almost pleading. "Not until you confront it." "No!" Alex yelled, slamming the statue against the table, its impact resonating through the silence. Terrifying energy crackled, and the lights flickered with vicious intent. The shadows danced wildly, engulfing him, compelling him to listen. In that chaotic moment, he felt a truth he couldn't deny. The statue held secrets, a connection to battles fought not only on foreign soil but within his very soul. There was a choice to be made, a line drawn between redemption and ruin. "Stop!" he screamed, gripping his head as if it would contain the overwhelming flood of emotions. But the shadows only laughed, deeper than the echoes of Luke's voice. Alex turned back to face his brother, determined yet terrified. "Help me. Please." Luke's expression hardened, and for a moment, the air cracked sharply with tension. "You have to take it back before it takes more from you." With that, the entity of his brother began to flicker, as if being pulled by unseen strings. A surge of panic shot through Alex. "Why is this happening? Don't go. Find the truth," Luke urged, fading into the shadows. "Bring it back to its rightful place, before it's too late." The light flickered one last time before the basement plunged into darkness. Heart pounding, Alex felt alone again, fighting against the whispers. The shadows were closing in, each breath he took felt heavier, burdened by realization. Would he confront his demons, or let the darkness reclaim him, as the palpable silence? Settled, Alex clenched the statue tighter, a weight more than just physical. He had to make a choice. Would he return to the battlefield of his past, or would he let it consume him? The weight of the decision loomed over him like an executioner's shadow, and with every second that passed, the reality of his next move felt dangerously close. What lay ahead? Redemption or despair? Only one thing was certain, the true battle had just begun. The darkness pressed in around Alex, thick and suffocating like smoke. He squeezed the statue tightly, its warmth seeping into his skin, a strange contrast to the freezing grip of dread around his heart. The silence was deafening, broken only by the distant drip of water from an unseen pipe, echoing the pallor of his thoughts. Could it really be true? Was this cursed relic the source of his brother's torment, and by extension, his own? Find the truth. Luke's final words ricocheted in Alex's mind. They buzzed like an angry wasp, urging him on, demanding an answer, but to what? Alex felt caught in a web of uncertainty, his instincts screaming for him to flee, yet the weight of the statue tethered him. If he didn't act, what would happen next? Would he be swallowed whole by the same shadows that had enveloped Luke? Taking a shaky breath, Alex forced himself to shuffle toward the basement door. The clattering of his footsteps echoed ominously, as if mocking his hesitation. The walls pressed closer, shadows creeping like specters, promising secrets buried in darkness. Each step back felt like surrender, but he was terrified of going forward without knowing what awaited him. Just as he reached for the doorknob, the flickering light steadied momentarily, illuminating a mirror on the wall he had never seen before. Looking into it, he gasped. The reflection wore his face, but with Luke's haunted eyes staring back, pleading for help. Panic gripped him like a vice. "What is this?" he croaked. He stepped back, only to notice strange symbols marked on the mirror's frame, a hasty warning, perhaps. "Do you see it?" Luke's voice now seeped from the mirror, echoing with an ethereal ring. "The truth is right in front of you, Alex." Beneath the terror, a flicker of defiance ignited within. The urge to run battled fiercely with the growing pressure to confront something terrible, something that churned just under the surface. Snatching a breath, he leaned in closer, half expecting a reflection to reach through and pull him into the unknown. As his breath fogged the glass, the murmur of whispers grew louder, forming staccato words that danced around him. They were fragmented echoes of his memories, screams from the battlefield, the sound of gunfire mixed with the laughter of his brother from better days. If he took this leap, if he uncovered the truth, would it heal or shatter him? "Help me, Alex," the reflection pleaded, and for an instant, the room spun, reality slipping like sand from an hourglass. He realized that what lay ahead wasn't merely about the statue or the shadows, it was about him and Luke, the brothers who could never heal after so much grief and loss. "Okay," he whispered, fighting the lump in his throat. Gathering courage, he reached toward the icy glass, fingertips brushing against it. A flash of memory hit him, Luke laughing at summer BBQs, saying they had to look out for each other, no matter what. But then, just like that, all the light flickered out, plunging him into darkness. "Alex!" A voice roared from nowhere, deep and guttural, unlike Luke's, filled with malice and hunger. Shadows writhed around him, dragging him toward the mirror. He shoved against the cold wall, heart racing, but it felt impossible to break away. What was forcing him into the depths of this malevolent darkness? Then the whispers began again, frantic and insistent, synchronizing with the rhythm of his racing heart. "Remember, remember, remember," with desperate determination, he whispered back, "I will remember." The pressure coiling around him began to lift, and he felt something shift in the air. Was he breaking the cycle, or was it merely a fleeting reprieve? As a warmth spread from the statue, Alex felt a sickening twist in his gut. "You have to make a choice," came Luke's voice, clearer now, filled with urgency. The basement trembled as the shadows transformed into dark silhouettes, closing in. Every door to escape clattered shut, leaving only the ghostly figure of Luke before the mirror. What choice remained? Had he already lost, or was this the moment to reclaim everything he had given up? As the shadows reached out, disembodied hands desperate to grasp his soul, Alex could only cry out as the darkness engulfed him, an echo of Luke's warning ringing in his ears. Was he about to meet his fate, or could he uncover the truth that lay long buried? The haunting whisper of fate hung heavily in the air, and Alex knew the next step would determine everything. As the shadows consumed him, Alex felt his breath catch, racing faster than any fire he had ever fought. He plunged deeper into the obscurity, a whirlwind of echoes swirling around him, a cacophony of memory and despair. The sensation of being dragged pulled at his very core, making him question what was real and what was merely a product of his anguished mind. In that moment, every unresolved wound from his past screamed out for attention, clawing at the edges of his consciousness. Then, a sudden clarity struck like lightning. The warmth from the statue surged, igniting a flicker of hope against the haunting cold. That warmth felt different now, it was transforming, melding with the darkness that had consumed him. It was calling him to remember the moments he fought to forget. "Alex!" Luke's voice rang out, sharper now. "The truth is the weapon. Use it to break free." The rest of the darkness collapsed around him, and Alex, seizing the moment, pressed his hands tighter against the mirror's cold surface. His thoughts spiraled into illumination. "The truth," he murmured. "Show me the truth." Suddenly, the walls of the basement trembled as though responding to his plea. The whispers swirled again, urgency bearing down upon him. "Remember," they urged, pulling him further into the depths of his memories. He felt the clutches of shadowy figures around his ankles, vines of darkness searching for weakness. He had to remember. Visions flashed before his eyes, his childhood home spiraling around him in scenes of laughter and love overshadowed by gunfire and grief. They shattered and reformed like glass, each one displaying another layer of his tortured past. The family barbecues turned into frantic phone calls from the front lines, laughter transforming into silence punctuated by explosions. "Alex," the reflection begged, taking on a more corporeal form. The desperate gaze of Luke locked onto his, mirroring both hope and despair. "You have to remember why we fought. This isn't just about me anymore, it's about all of us." A surge of anger and sadness poured through Alex. His brother had carried the burden of their shared history alone for so long. Wasn't he the one who promised to protect him? The guilt swelled, constricting his chest, but alongside it came the urge to fight back, to reclaim not just his brother's truth but his own. Enough! He screamed, the sound ripping through the oppressive air. The brilliance of his voice split the shadows, sending a shockwave through the basement. I'll do it. I'll remember. He focused on the statue, its warmth infusing strength into his words, compelling him to become the soldier he once was. The shadows recoiled, hesitating as if fearful of retaliating against his newfound resolve. With a rush of adrenaline, he grasped the truth buried deep within the layers of grief. It was never just about loss. It was about survival, love, and the bond between brothers. He needed to confront what had been hidden, the dark secrets of their family and the result of betrayal that festered like a wound. Show me! He bellowed, determination seeping into his bones. The whispers exploded into a relentless roar, and the mirror vibrated with energy. Light surged from within its depths, washing over him and illuminating the endless night, but just as hope began to bloom, a shadow erupted behind him, a dark figure lurking in the periphery, its intentions cloaked in malice. Foolish boy, it hissed, voice echoing with lethal promise. You cannot escape what you are meant to become. With a gasp, Alex turned, his heart pounding like a war drum as a wave of dread washed over him. What had he awakened? The decision he made would not just unveil the truth, it might very well unleash the monster hiding beneath it. And as Alex faced the entity, the realization dawned, he was standing on the cusp of a revelation that could change everything or doom him forever. Could he unravel the mystery before it consumed him? Or was he too late to save himself and Luke? The figure loomed larger, its voice slithering through the thick air like fog. You think you can find the truth? It growled, every syllable dripping with malice. Truth is twisted, it's a weapon that can cut deeper than any blade. Alex's pulse raced, each thump echoing in the cavernous basement. The shadows danced around him, twisting and writhing, as if savoring the torment unleashed by the entity's words. But in his chest, a flame flickered strong, rejecting the darkness. I've come too far to back down now, he asserted, his voice trembling but resolute. The creature's eyes, dark pools of unimaginable sorrow, reflected back his worst fears. What you seek isn't forgiveness, it's chaos. You don't know what lies beneath those memories you try to grasp. Then show me. Alex shouted, infused with defiance. He knew he was teetering on the brink of revelation, but it was a plunge into shadow that he had to navigate. The entity smirked, its features folding into an unsettling grin that sent chills racing down Alex's spine. The air shimmered around them. You want to unravel the truth? Then I will unveil the darkest secret of your family, the one you're so desperate to bury. In an instant, the shadows wriggled and transformed, morphing into images of a once cherished home, the scent of freshly baked cookies and laughter swirling in the air. But they quickly twisted into something grotesque. Harsh voices filled the space, angered shouts, the sharp crack of a wooden chair breaking under pressure. Alex stumbled back, the haunting scenes igniting memories he would rather forget. The man he recognized as his father, once a figure of strength, now depicted as a tyrant, his voice furious with rage. Was this the truth he fought for? Was this the reality Luke lived with? No, Alex whispered, his heart racing. Despite the horror, the pit in his stomach urged him to press on. It was now or never. I need to see it all. Very well, the figure replied, the pleasure in its voice palpable. But remember, the truth can be a heavier burden than any weight you've carried. Suddenly, the basement shifted, and the walls seemed to collapse inward. A dark tunnel spiraled before him, pulling him in. He found himself grasping the edges of the past, each moment crystallized like glass. The warmth from the statue flickered, uncertain yet persistent, against the chill of dread that swirled in the air. Clingy as a fog, images began to stitch together, scenes replaying like a broken film reel, arguments, haunting silence, the faint whimper of a child's sob from the next room. Alex could hardly breathe. The echoes of his family's trauma crept deeper into his soul, gnawing at the hope he barely saved from the frenzy of shadows. Then there was a pivotal moment he didn't know he had seen before. His father, face twisted in rage, pointing an accusing finger at Luke. You're weak. You'll never be anything but a failure. Stop. Alex pleaded, pressing his hands against his ears. "Don't show me this. Not this part." But the voice of the entity echoed louder, drowning out his cries. "You think you can escape it? You are your father's son. You carry his darkness." The shadows surged, a whirlwind of fury and despair, wrapping around him like a shroud, causing him to stagger. Panic clawed at Alex's throat. He was losing himself to the very thing he sought to unearth. But beneath the suffocating weight of dread, he felt it a tiny spark igniting courage. "I want to be a victim," he shouted. "I'll break this cycle." Such bravado, the entity hissed, but Alex recognized the glint of fear in its eyes. It had underestimated him. With newfound determination, he pushed forward, reaching for the deeper memory, knowing he had to confront the monster that had shackled his family in chains of sorrow. As he charged ahead, the shadows writhed more violently, attempting to pull him back. "You cannot face what lies ahead. You will be consumed." Breathless, Alex forced himself into the vortex, the chaos of his family's history crashing like a tidal wave around him. And just as he felt the very fabric of his being begin to unravel, a figure emerged from the turmoil, a young boy, his brother's eyes staring back at him, fear and darkness swirling within. "Help me," Luke's voice echoed, piercing the cacophony, pulling Alex closer. The stakes had never been higher. Could he find a way to save them both, or risk being swallowed whole by the shadows of their past? The question loomed heavy and urgent, and as the memories surged, one thought remained clear: the only way out was through a confrontation he could barely comprehend. The moment hung still, suspended in the swirling chaos around Alex. He felt his heart racing, matching the urgency of Luke's plea, "Help me." It shattered the noise, bringing focus to the haze that threatened to consume him. Alex reached for his brother, instinct driving him forward even as the shadows tightened their grip. Every inch felt like wading through thick mud. The fear in Luke's eyes was a mirror reflecting his own terror. Would he succeed where their father had failed? As Alex moved, the memories twisted viciously around him, clawing at his mind. He could hear distant echoes of their childhood blended into painful visions, finger-pointing accusations and screams that rang like bells of despair. It was the breaking of trust, the shadow of family betrayal cast long over his heart. The memories clawed back each time he tried to push through, trying to ensnare him in sorrow. "Let me in," he shouted, voice raw and desperate. He wasn't sure if he was addressing the entity or the shadows themselves. Either way, he knew he had to confront the truth. If not now, when? The dark figure laughed, faux encouragement. "You think you're strong enough to face the truth? You think this is a fairy tale?" A sliver of doubt crept into Alex's heart, but then he saw Luke again, heart-stoppingly vulnerable, lost and afraid. "You're not alone," Alex cried out. "I'm here. We'll face it together." In that instant, a crack tore through the walls of darkness. The memories shifted, morphing into vivid flashes. Luke hiding behind a door, clutching a blanket, tears streaming down his face as their father's voice erupted in fury like a thunderstorm. The boy's small figure trembled, quaking at the storm of anger unleashed. The realization crashed over Alex like cold water: Luke had suffered in silence. All those years, all those moments he thought were forgotten, they'd been seared into his brother's soul. Alex squeezed his eyes shut, trying to shut out the memories, but it only intensified them, like flickering lights on a broken display. "Stop! I can't watch this." But the shadows fed off his discomfort, writhing in twisted delight. "You cannot unsee what you've witnessed. The truth is relentless. It reveals and destroys." Yet through the turmoil, he felt the warmth of a flickering flame. It was hope ignited by love. "No. I will not let this define us." Summoning the strength, Alex bolted toward the memory's core, where darkness coalesced into a vortex. "You will not have him," he yelled, each word ringing with ferocity. It shocked the shadows back, making them recoil. The air thickened, vibrating with tension as the two brothers faced the heart of the storm. "Forward," Alex pressed, the chaos swirling with each step, seeking the light buried in the debris of their past. If he could only reach Luke, pull him from the depths of despair. Suddenly, an excruciating flash of clarity pierced through the dark. It wasn't just their childhood, he saw beyond to moments of forgiveness, scattered like stars in the night sky, small but powerful. Their mother's gentle touch, the lessons of resilience, the laughter shared in secret corners of their home. "I will break the chains," Alex shouted into the dark. "Together, we can rewrite our story." In that moment, a low growl rumbled in the darkness, a warning. The shadows expanded, intent on driving him back. "Foolish boy. You dare challenge the truth?" Alex refused to look away, his eyes locked on Luke's terrified expression. "You deserve more than fear. You deserve freedom." A blinding light erupted between them, illuminating everything, the horrors and the fragments of hope. The shadows howled in protest as he reached for Luke, fingers stretching into the abyss. "Take my hand. We're stronger together." But a surge of darkness retaliated, pulling at Alex's ankles like icy fingers, dragging him back into the shadows. Gritting his teeth, he fought against the tide. Would he reach Luke in time, or was it too late to save them both? As the storm raged around them, a new image broke through the chaos. A door stood ajar, leading to an uncharted space beyond the shadows. Alex's instincts screamed at him. Could this be the escape they needed, or another trap waiting to ensnare them both? His heart raced. Would they dare to step into the unknown together? The choice loomed large, and time was running out. Would they seize it or lose each other forever? The shadows writhed like a living entity, darkness spilling and swirling around Alex, threatening to engulf him whole. Tension crackled in the air as he felt the weight of his choices pressing heavily on his chest. Every heartbeat echoed the urgency. That countdown wasn't just ticking, it was roaring. "Luke!" he shouted again, as if saying his name would slice through the dark like a knife. The pull of the shadows clawed at him, cold and unforgiving. He fought to keep his eyes on his brother, whose expression was a chasm of despair. Alex's heart ached. It felt like every moment was slipping away. "Please. Don't give up." Luke's gaze flickered with something between doubt and belief. The swirling fate of their lives rested on the edge of that one thin line, and Alex could see how desperately his brother clung to hope. But could hope be enough against such fierce despair? As Alex stepped closer to that luminous door, the shadows seemed to shiver, responding to his determination. A low growl, almost like thunder, reverberated around him. The entity, whatever it was, sensed his resolve and lashed out. "Do you really think you can escape? You're tethered to this pain, destined to be consumed by it." "No." Alex's voice roared with conviction, startling even him. In that moment of defiance, he no longer felt just himself. His mother's love surged through him, providing warmth in the freezing gloom. "Luke needs me, and I won't abandon you." The light from the door flickered as if it understood the bond they shared. It pulsated, brightening like a beacon as he drew nearer. His heart raced, not just with fear, but with a kind of fierce love that seemed to drive the shadows further back. With every dragging step, Alex felt the chains of their past crack, splintering under the will of their unity. Could they truly rewrite their story? Could they both step into the light and face the memories hounding them? Together. He shouted, reaching deeper into the void. "We walk through this together. I promise you, Luke. We're stronger than this." The darkness, sensing its grip weakening, surged forward with a growl of fury. Tendrils of shadow latched onto Alex's arms, slimy and suffocating. He gritted his teeth and pushed himself toward the door, summoning every ounce of strength he had left, but at that moment, the shadows coalesced into a figure, an indistinct form that loomed large against the light, and it moved like a predator poised to strike. "You think this will save you? There are truths worse than death, and they'll haunt you both." The entity's voice reverberated through the chaos, stunning Alex for a split second. Would he risk everything? Would diving into the unknown lead to salvation, or would it pull them deeper into despair? Luke's whisper broke through the fog of uncertainty. I'm ready. With his brother's hand firmly grasping his own, Alex felt a surge of warmth pass between them. Hope ignited a flame within the pit of his gut. Let us go. He pushed off the cold grip of darkness and darted toward the door. The shadows screamed as the light enveloped them, blinding and warm. It felt like a cleansing fire, and for a fleeting instant, it seemed they were breaking free. But just as they reached the threshold, the dark figure shrieked, "You can't escape the past. I will bury you in it." The moment stretched, eternal and raw, as the doorway loomed before them, an uncertain portal of hope amid a tempest of despair. Would they emerge reborn, or would they find themselves ensnared in even greater darkness? As the light consumed them, Alex held his breath. The choice they made would change everything. What lay on the other side? Were they ready to confront the truth that awaited them, or had they merely leapt into another pit of torment? The door slammed shut behind them. All they could do was wait and see what awaited in the new reality they had chosen. The moment they crossed through the door, Alex and Luke were engulfed by a blinding light. It was unlike anything they had ever felt, warm and cleansing, washing over them like a soft summer rain. A rush of emotions hit Alex: relief, fear, hope, and a lingering doubt that made his heart race. But as the brightness faded and reality settled back around them, they found themselves standing in a serene forest, bathed in the golden glow of sunset. Silences sang in the trees, the air crisp and alive with life unlike the suffocating weight of shadows they had just escaped. The ground felt solid beneath their feet, every blade of grass whispering of new beginnings. Minutes turned into seconds as they stared at one another, wonder and disbelief etched on their faces. "Is this real?" Luke asked, his voice a mix of awe and cautious hope. Alex took a deep breath, feeling the knots of anxiety in his chest slowly loosen. "I think it is," he stammered, overwhelmed at the sight of his brother, truly alive and free from the shackles of memory and grief that had accompanied him for far too long. "Do you think it worked?" Luke said hesitantly, studying his surroundings with wide eyes, as if expecting walls of darkness to close in at any moment. But nothing lurked within this forest, only the gentle rustle of leaves and the soft calls of birds greeting the evening. With a soft chuckle, Alex felt an unfamiliar weight lift off him. "We faced the darkness together," he said, glancing playfully at Luke. "So it has to count for something, right?" Luke smiled, the shadows of their past beginning to dissolve. "Yeah, we did," he agreed. "But there's still so much to unpack, so much trauma we can face," Alex interrupted, his voice gaining steadiness. "Together. It was never just me, we were always meant to share this burden." The shimmering warmth of the sun seemed to reinforce his words, wrapping them both in light as they ventured forward, hand in hand. With each step further into the heart of the forest, Alex could feel the joy he had thought lost begin to unfurl in his chest. He pulled Luke closer, the connection between them solid as they walked. "What if?" Luke began, hesitation creeping back. "What if there are still pieces of the past? What if we can't leave it behind?" Alex paused, looking deep into his brother's eyes. "We don't have to leave it behind. We can confront it, reshape it. We are stronger now together." His conviction surged from the depths of his soul, anchoring them both. Together, they pushed onward, scattering the dense fog of uncertainty with the sheer strength of their newfound bond. As they shared their fears, in the light of this new beginning, voices of the past faded further into echoes. Suddenly, they found a clearing, a radiant glade alive with flowers radiating every color, a canvas painted with vibrant life. They felt a collective sigh of relief cascade upon them, as if the forest itself rejoiced at their liberation. This is beautiful," Luke said, absorbing every detail, every hue. "Maybe this is the place where we start anew. A fresh beginning." A smile broke Alex's lips, wide and genuine. "Yes. This is where we can heal. Together. It's not about forgetting what happened, it's about transforming that pain into strength. We can write our own story now." They turned to one another, the shadows of their past still lurking at the edges of their minds, but they didn't feel alone anymore. That bond, forged in the fires of trauma, now glimmered like a beacon, guiding their way forward. In the midst of that tranquil glade, they embraced their past weighed heavy, but they held the seeds of hope planted in their hearts. They would breathe life into an incredible journey ahead, a story of resilience, love, and unwavering brotherhood. And that laughter, so warm and full of the potential for tomorrow, like the never-fading echoes of their childhood, reminded them that light can always break through the darkest of nights. The world shifted around them, inviting change, calling them to reclaim their lives. Together, they stepped back into the warmth of the golden light, ready to embrace whatever came next. Don't wait another moment. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss this epic revival and the exclusive stories that are coming next. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and protect future adventures. And make sure to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about how Alex and Luke's journey unfolds. Let your voice be heard because I want to connect with every incredible member of this community. Immediately share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this powerful conclusion. The time is now to support the channel.